In this episode of Business Success with Graeme and Leanne Carling, the couple are travelling to the Algarve, Portugal, to visit one of the most well-known businessmen and entrepreneurs in the UK. This man's business interests traverse hotels, health clubs, media, and property. The success of these various businesses culminated in earning him a chair on one of the most popular business shows on TV, Dragon's Den. This is, of course, Duncan Bannatyne. You are watching Business Success. Business Success is the programme where Graeme and Leanne Carling discuss business with other industry leaders from around the world. Graeme and Leanne themselves building a group of companies through the strategy of company acquisition, which now has a multi-million-pound group turnover and employs hundreds of people across the country. Today, they are meeting Duncan Bannatyne, who in regard to his business activities is likely to be best known for building and operating health clubs. Amongst other things, together they will be discussing the challenges faced by big businesses over the last 3 years and their approach to overcoming those challenges.
Duncan, delighted to be here. Thank you very much for having us in your beautiful home here in Portugal. Leanne and I are really looking forward to attending the Caudwell Children gala dinner down here tomorrow night, and I'm sure you and the Go are looking forward to that also.
Absolutely,
Yep.
yes.
We're 2.5 years in now, since the first COVID lockdown. How's business for you now?
Well, it's recovering, but it's recovering slowly. It's still not the way it was in 2019. I'm just matching my revenue and profits to 2019, and we won't make as much this year as we did in 2019. I don't think we will next year either. So it's a slow climb back up again. It's a lot more expenses now. It's another $1.5 million, and the cost of heating our swimming pools, for example, and then $1 million more in the new national insurance stamps and things like that, and interest on the money we borrowed from the government. So it's tough, but we'll get there.
Yeah, if we go back to that March in 2020 when that was it, everything was in, the country, if you like, was in lockdown. Yeah. I remember how we felt when, that was it, businesses stopped, right, nobody leave the house. How was that for you? I mean, how did that feel? What was the...
Well, it was like a slow burner, wasn't it? Because we thought it was going to be a month, and then it was more. It was 2 months, and it was more. And then we opened again, and then we closed again. And it got worse because we had to close clubs in Scotland, but not in England.
Yep.
And close them in Wales, but not in Scotland, and then close them in Northern Ireland. It was like so complicated and difficult. But like most people in business, entrepreneurs, we just get our heads down, get through these things the best way we can.
Yeah.
And but it was not an easy time. But I say that, but there's a lot of people a lot less fortunate than us who are living in 1-bedroom and 2-bedroom apartments who didn't really have a garden. We were able to stay here and walk along this beautiful golf course because nobody was playing golf and spend some time there. They were still cutting the grass, but nobody was playing golf. So.
Right. I remember we were, our businesses, we had some mature businesses, some that we'd actually only started or had got started only a few months earlier, where there was a mad panic. I mean, what was it like, being in the leisure industry that you're in?
Yeah, I mean, it slowly became apparent that we're closing for longer than what we'd anticipated, and that this is becoming very, very difficult. The government did come in, and we borrowed, with the loans, we borrowed £24 million from the government, and they got some grants and things, and eventually we had to do a deal with our landlords.
Yeah.
And so you have to give us a discount, and they all give us the same discount, the same percentage of the rent.
Right.
And they agreed, 6 months of negotiation, but they agreed in the end. So we survived, but the emotions were, you start to think, okay, so if we can't pay our debts and the company goes into liquidation, what do we do next? And these sort of things, we're thinking of how you would live after that.
Yeah.
It could well have happened. And I think of the 10 biggest health club operators in the UK, 6 went into some sort of receivership, some and back out the next day, and things like that.
Yeah.
but it wasn't easy.
But in terms of, as you come out of this, I mean, what did you see in terms of your team of people, the people, the leadership team, and even the colleagues that work operating in the gyms, and positives and negatives, going through that process during COVID?
Well, the team were all behind us. I mean, and they were all, they took pay cuts, things like that, because the people that are not on furlough were higher level of pay. Had to take a voluntary pay cut. And we would have worked to get the nose to the grindstone and worked hard, and got us through it.
And as you've came through that and you come out the other side, what was the lessons from that period that you're now applying to the company now and going forward, do you see?
Yeah, well, we realised we have to be a lot tighter on expenditure, because we can't afford to spend what we were spending on wages and everything else, and rents and things. We've actually got rid of 4 clubs who were making losses or not doing very well. So 4 are closed out of 72, and we've looked very, very closely at the wage bills and things like that. And the people on the higher levels have not had a pay rise for 3 years.
Right.
But they accept that.
Yeah.
Unlike a lot of people in the UK who, through the unions, are going on strike and things like that to get more wages. I don't know how the country would survive if everybody got a 10 or 15% pay rise to match inflation just now, because start getting inflation going even faster. And so it's very, very difficult for people like that, and I can understand them. So you don't let you complain, because people are so much worse off than us. Yeah, but it's just a different attitude to how much we spend.
In terms of the business now outlook, are you still looking to grow your clubs, or what's the plans now?
If we were approached with a small club that was for sale, we'd look at it. But generally, no. We're still in survival mode. We've still got to pay off. We still owe almost £20 million to the government for the money we borrowed during the pandemic. We've got to pay that back. So we're just surviving, getting through that, paying the extra interest that we're paying on a lot of money as well, and extra national insurance stamps, which is all difficult for us. But we'll get through and survive, and probably come out as a better company, but in 2024, not 2022 or 2023.
To get to the number of clubs that you got to, was that done organically, or was it through acquisitions, or what was it, a mixture?
Well, I built the first 30 or 32, I think it was, and we bought the land and actually built them. So I designed them, and then Livingwell Hotel Company put up they had a number of health clubs in the hotels and a number outside the hotels. They put their independent ones up for sale.
Right.
So I was bidding on that. I think it was 26 of them, and I bought them for 92 million.
Right. 2006,
I think it was. And I made a few acquisitions since then, and built 1 or 2 more since then.
Okay.
We've got to 72. We're operating 68 now.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So, and how did you finance that then at the time? I mean, that it seems that must have been a big deal at that time.
Yeah. Well, I after I started building health clubs, I had the health club business, and I was getting into the children's nursery business, and I'd bought a small hotel in Darlington that was derelict. But I still had my public company, which is Quality Care Homes. So we operated homes for the elderly. So I sold that in 1987, and then I had the money then to start doing that.
Right.
And it was a few years later before actually I had to bring in the bank and get bank borrowing.
Right.
And then we financed it with bank borrowing. Well, but I invested, was it 20 odd million more money back into the businesses.
Right. If we go back just during the COVID period, certainly what we found in our sector, which is the property and the building services sector, it was very difficult for certainly us, some of our companies, to borrow any money, even with all the schemes, whether it was CBILS loans and various other sort of government initiatives and grant funding. Our businesses are mainly in Scotland. There was a real mixed bag between which companies actually, they sounded great in principle, but in actual fact trying to actually obtain the funding proved difficult. How was it in the leisure sector?
The leisure sector was very difficult because, I'll give you an example. So we operate 4 hotels within this business, and the Chancellor reduced the VAT on them to about 5%. But the health clubs, they kept the VAT at 20%. And then they gave loans to the health clubs. I didn't understand why they didn't reduce the VAT in the health clubs and lend less money to the health clubs.
Yeah.
I don't know why the took the hotels and restaurants out separate from health clubs because it's the same type of operation
Right.
with the same difficulties.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what I did. And one health club operator went to the wall and never opened again.
Right.
That was DW Sports, I think it was.
Okay.
So they could have saved some jobs there, I think, if they reduced the VAT.
Right.
But it just wasn't easy. There was not an easy thing about it. You know, you're just going to see no revenue. You're still paying rent to all your landlords.
Yeah.
We own some freeholds and some rentals. And you're still paying the extra bit of wages for the people that earn more than the 30,000 a year.
Mm-hmm.
Subscriptions and things.
Yeah.
And you just wake up every day and think, are we going to survive? Will it survive? Will it not survive?
Yeah.
Yeah, but eventually you get there because entrepreneurs do that, don't they? We go through and we try and make things work.
Yeah. Well, I think when we,
Sorry, we were the same. So, and I always said like the kind of furloughs like life support, you know. So you're on life support at the moment, but when you remove that furlough and all these different loans, what effect is it going to have in your business? Have you seen that? Because we certainly have. You know, the government had gave you these schemes to help you, but now we're finding it difficult because we've maybe took these schemes to get different funding. Have you found similar?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the thing is with the furlough as well is, you know, people on furlough accrued the holidays.
yeah.
So we open now and they're entitled to 20 days accrued holidays plus the 25 they will get this year anyway. So that's 45 days holidays this year.
Yeah.
So we've got to cover that. I mean, it's cost us more money in wages just to cover the holiday pay that they accrued during furlough. And then you opened and they were allowed to have a second job.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So you'd get the staff back in beforehand and they'd say, well, a certain percentage, 15%, 20%, I'm not coming back. Well, I've got another job, I like the other job better.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it's in Amazon, just in a warehouse.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
yes, we found that as well.
And yeah, so you don't like, you got to then try and recruit, you know. And my spa therapist is well down. I'm getting people wanting bookings, and I don't have enough spa therapists to run the business.
Yeah.
But we're paying more and putting prices up, but there's a lack of training as well because during the pandemic nobody was getting trained.
Mm-hmm.
So it's left a big hole in some quarters, you know. And you just plod through it every day and just try and get through it.
Some of the things the schemes that were incentives that Leanne was saying there. So you were able to defer HMRC payments. We were able to CBILS loans possibly. Then when we came through that, weathered that storm, some of our businesses have said, right, okay, we need to refinance it now. But actual fact, what some of the lenders are doing, they're kind of holding that against you. They're saying, well, we don't really like it because you've got the time to pay orders with HMRC, orders, not so much the CBILS loans, but certainly on time to pay orders that we're taking advantage of that you were kind of instructed to do as the first port of call. So we've seen that's certainly affected some of our businesses that actually they don't like the look of that on the balance sheet, or they're a bit some of the lenders are a bit nervous about that. Has that been something you've seen?
Yeah, I tell you what, we're getting a little bit of a crisis coming now because our loans have got to be paid off by the end of 2023.
Right.
So when we do our 22 accounts, you can't get your account signed off.
Yeah.
If you've got a loan, it's got to be paid within a year.
Yeah.
And no facility to repay it. When we repay it from revenue coming in, we refinance it.
Yeah.
We know that's going to happen, but you can't sign your accounts off like that.
Yeah.
So what do we do?
Yeah.
I haven't worked it out yet.
Yeah.
We're talking to the bank, and the bank will either have to extend the loan,
Yeah.
or I'll do something. I'll refinance before 2023. You can't wait till 2023.
Can't wait. No. Yeah.
But as an entrepreneur, you'll be racking your brains to find the
Yeah.
solution.
Yeah, look for a good finance director, and she'll work very hard on it. And she'll make something work.
Good.
So, and this is a question that I've got. I mean, you've obviously live abroad or live overseas. The bulk of your businesses in the UK still, Duncan, are they? Yeah. So how does that work for you? I mean, Leanne and I, we live abroad now. We know the challenges with that. How does that? I mean, how do you manage that? How does it work?
I discovered Zoom in a big way during the pandemic, as many people did, and I do it all by Zoom. And we've got structured meetings and meeting dates. Every week, like Monday is the day I work.
Right.
And I do my meeting with my directors and then my regional managers, every Monday, and then between I've got other people I speak to and have an hour on a Zoom call at a time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that seems to work. It seems to run a little bit better when I'm not there, actually.
Funny that.
I say that about Graeme.
That's it, yeah.
Businesses run better when you're not there.
Yeah, Graham, stay away.
Yeah, so I mean, in terms of the team of people, then your board, the structure, because that's dead interesting for us. We rely heavily on our guys on the ground, and we've got a huge reliance on them. We've got a good team. We've seen.
I think through COVID, sorry to butt in.
No, you're right.
I think through COVID, certain members of our team really stepped up to the plate, and they showed their, I mean 90% of them did, but there was certain ones that just really raised the bar and performed really well. So we're thankful for that.
And that's been one of the challenges for us certainly over the last 18 months, and where you feel the need that you've physically got to be there and driving it forward. Yeah. But in actual fact, I think we're certainly feeling a better structure than our board and our team. Don't get me wrong, you've got to keep the momentum going and keep the structure going, and keep the whole thing, keep the vision, setting the vision and all that. That never stops. But certainly right through COVID, we've never worked harder. We've never worked. I mean, we're workaholics anyway. It's 24/7, and we've managed to find a team of people that are like us, similar to us. Now that's taken a while, but it is. Like you said earlier on, before we came on, the golden nugget is you've got to just roll your sleeves up and work hard.
Yeah, absolutely. And I found I've got some great regional managers. I've got 8 regional managers who manage the clubs and manage the operations of the clubs, and they're doing fantastic jobs. And they're doing jobs that I couldn't do. I couldn't keep all these, they've got say 10 clubs under them, and keep the information in all those clubs and what's happening in all those clubs, and then focus on that every time they go and visit those clubs. But they seem to do it, and they seem to be good at it. You get the right people got to be slotted into the correct place.
Yeah. I think that's something that we found over the years, not just through COVID, is having the right team around you.
Oh yeah.
And advisors, professionals, lawyers, accountants, etc., just to help you on your journey, because we've learned lessons the hard way, costly lessons by having the wrong people.
What is it? Is there an end for you, Duncan? Is there an exit here planned, or what's the?
No, my exit's the day I die.
Right, yeah.
That's all the business that I die, and that's it.
Yeah, love that, and I totally understand that. People say to us, when are you going to retire? I say, no chance. no chance of retiring.
Why would you?
Yeah, why would you do that? So I think when we're looking at it, we're talking to the many people that we've spoken to on these shows, has been everybody's the same. They say we're all the same. Everybody's we just keep going at it. We're if you like in the trenches every day and all that. We're in the sort of building services business. We own our businesses, residential property with some commercial, student accommodation and building services. But you seem to have been, you're in the leisure industry, but you've been very much involved in building developments and building buildings and design and all that stuff. Is that something you enjoy doing? Is that?
Yeah, it started when I went into the homes for the elderly, and most people converted buildings, and it was like 3 or 4 in a room, and I wanted all single bedrooms. Yeah. And I found the only way you could do that was to buy some land and build a place. And I found a plot of land actually. I was in my ice cream van in Stockton High Street. I parked my ice cream van, I was walking down High Street. I saw this plot of land for sale. I bought it, took a bit of time. And then I built a home for the elderly, all 30 single bedrooms. Yeah. And it was quite unusual, and it filled the next day because people moved from where there were 6 in a bedroom to get a single bedroom. The price was the same because it was paid for by the state, the government. Yeah. And so I then built another one, kept building. And when I saw that company, I did the same with the health clubs. Right. And I sort of sat down and said to the architect, I said, there's too much corridor space. I want to reduce. And eventually we came to a figure of 18% maximum corridor space. Right. And they designed it, and it worked. Yeah. If you get big open corridor space, you're heating that corridor space. You don't often need it. Yeah.
So in terms of actually doing the development, what was it? You were managing the contractor side of it, or were you involved ever in that?
So it'd be a fixed price contract with a contractor, and that'd be it. And I had a really good property director at the time, who was very good. Some property people are very good at overseeing a new build, and some managing how your air conditioning works in 70 clubs. It's sort of a different skill I found.
Yeah.
So he was very good at that business at the time.
Right.
And he was good. He'd bring everything in inside the budget.
Mm-hmm.
It was great.
Yeah,
And so we build one, then build another one.
yeah.
Built 8 one year was the best year, I think.
But 8, what was that?
Care
Care
homes.
homes? Oh,
No, 8 health clubs.
8 health clubs. Oh,
Yeah, I
okay.
think it was in 2001 we built 8.
Right, okay. So Duncan, obviously a very successful businessman. You know, what is it? What do you say has been, you know, one of the main reasons for your success?
I think the tips I would say is that don't think there's any shortcuts, because there isn't.
Yeah.
Work very hard, work long hours, and be dedicated, because you know anyone can do it. And just really go for it. And just as you build the company, you have to build up good people around you. And there's some great people who just want to be in management, who don't want to start their own business, you know, and they understand that you've started the business, but they're back in the business. And that's it really. You can be a little bit arrogant by believing in yourself very, very much, and that helps.
Yeah.
I'm often accused of being arrogant, so I'm doing that well.
And if there was a message to your younger self, what would it be?
To your younger self, I would say, well, have the confidence in yourself much earlier, because I was in my 30s when I started in business.
Yeah.
I was penniless at the age of 30. I didn't even have a bank account when I was 29. So I'd say, you know, be confident in yourself much more quicker in life, you know. And I'd have left school at 15 and started in business if I went back over it again.
If you had more confidence.
Yeah.
Yeah, we say exactly the same. I mean, we tell our kids and our children as well, you know, what we should have failed faster. You know, we should have got in the game early. We should have failed faster. Get out of the road, because there will be failings and all that stuff. But our son, he'll be 15 this year. That's one of the things we say to him, encourage him. Look, you know, because it took us, you know, it took me till I think it was, you know, 29, 30,
or something
to really start to and I had a couple. You know, that's how you handle failures. I mean, what failures have you? Is there anything there that have given you the biggest lessons in terms of failings?
We opened one children's day nursery which failed miserably, and we couldn't fill it, because we built up a children's day nursery business over 5 years and then sold it. It was just in the wrong location.
Right.
So double check your location. I think that's part of the business. But we made a mistake on one. And I also tried to take over a small public company, which is called Lady and Leisure. And I started buying up the shares. And I spent £1 million on the shares, and they went bust. So I lost £1 million overnight. So that was a bit of a lesson.
Yeah.
You know, stay away from buying public company shares after that.
Sometimes we got way too emotional with the business. You know, we got too attached to it, and it feels like, you know, we're saying, and then you're
trying to keep it going.
When you know,
Yeah.
your mind's telling you one thing. Look, it's clear, but you know, you get too close to the people that you're working with. And
Yeah.
have you? I mean, how have you dealt with that before?
I went into business because I wanted to have some money to buy a house and put my children through school. And that was it. I was never dreams of having a huge business. And I would say this, I enjoyed it. I loved it. And you should do what you love.
Yeah.
And if you don't love being in business, then you shouldn't do it.
Yeah.
You know. And I mean, I travel with some great guys who are plastic surgeons. And every year I try to fund a mission, and we repair clefts in children. So we do like 250 clefts and a mission in Mexico or somewhere. And all these guys love what they do, and they love the plastic surgery. But they all say we can make so much money doing beautiful women and changing them, doing the breasts, doing the faces, doing things like that. And the husbands will just pay whatever they have to pay. He says, but we come here. He says, we don't get paid for it. He says, we're in not very nice hotels, whatever, and we love every minute of it, because we change their lives of 250 children and the families.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So if they could do that every day, they'd probably do it every day, but they can't do it every day.
Yeah.
They can't make a living. So, and you know, you got to enjoy it.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you enjoy your business, you enjoy life.
Yeah. And in terms of, you touched on there, I mean, the work you do for charity and philanthropy, and that's something you seem to be very big into, and how important is that to you, Duncan?
Well, I made a decision probably 20 years or more ago that I wasn't going to just give money to charity if I didn't understand the charity. You don't just salve your conscience by sending checks for tens or 50,000 at a time. I wanted to know what the charity did, so I got very involved with UNICEF and worked with them for a while. and I got involved with great charity, Scottish International Relief, who then started Mary's Meals.
Yep.
And they're feeding about 1.2 million people all around the world now, children in schools. And it's amazing, that charity. And if you go and meet I don't know if you met the owner of that charity, the guy who started it, Agnes McFarlane Barrow.
No.
That's the great charity. You should go and see him one day and go and visit, pay him a visit, and see what he does. And so I knew that there was nothing coming out of that charity. There was nobody in flashcards, there was nobody in big salaries.
Yeah.
At the time, Agnes was paying himself about 20,000 a year, I think. Yeah. And he always travelled economy, and he's like 6'6".
Yeah.
So he'd go to Africa on economy to visit the schools that he was building at the time, and then the schools that he's feeding. Yeah, so every and Operation Smile, they told me how much it would cost to fund the whole mission, and I knew the value there was fantastic.
Yeah.
It cost less than £1,000 to change a whole family's life by doing the operation. So, because what I pay for is the surgeons, hotel accommodation, and the food and things when they're there, and the travelling expenses.
Right. Yeah.
But nobody gets paid otherwise.
No. Duncan, listen, thank you very much. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you. Nice chatting to you.
Beautiful home, and we'll see you tomorrow night.
We caught up with Graeme and Leanne to find out what they thought of the conversation.
I think the one thing really I took away today, which resonates with us, or certainly has been there is no magic formula to this.
No,
there is not one thing. It's hard work, and I think a lot of people underestimate it's 24/7.
Hard work and commitment.
Yeah, and desire and just keeping at it. So when things get tough, when everything's going wrong, that's the time when you double down on your efforts and get going. So, like Duncan said, when the COVID lockdown, there's nothing else for it other than we need to roll our sleeves up and deal with it and just get cracked on. And ultimately, I think that's probably one of the biggest lessons for me, not just for the pandemic situation, but for every tough, challenging situation.
We're dealt with different issues or different scenarios every day that, as an entrepreneur, we love finding the solution and making it work, and that's all done through hard graft.
Good. No, so I thoroughly enjoyed it, and hopefully we'll see him again. We'll see him tomorrow night.
That's it for this episode, but tune in next time to Business Success with Graeme and Leanne Carling.